here in San Antonio as the Spurs trying to keep their season alive and force a Game 7 here in these Western Conference semifinals. Spurs find themselves in an unusual position, trailing 3-2. Of course, this is just one of the conference semifinals, the other also 3-2. And just like this series, the home team has won every game. Can the Hornets win a road game and advance to the next round? We'll find out coming up. It's the Spurs and the Hornets. Right now, let's get our starting lineups presented by Sonic. Turn it over to PA announcer Stan Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stan Kelly. Welcome back to the beautiful AT&T Center for tonight's Western Conference semifinal Game 6 between the New Orleans Hornets and your San Antonio Spurs. Starting lineup for New Orleans. And one forward, 6'10", from Serbia, number 16, Peja Stojakovic. Other forward, 6'9", from Xavier, number 30, David West. And center, out of high school, number 6, Tyson Chandler. And one guard, 6'7", from Michigan State, number 9, Morris Peterson. And the other guard, 6 foot, from Wake Forest, number 3, Chris Paul. Head coach for New Orleans is Byron Scott. From Argentina, number 20, Manu Ginobili. And the other guard, 6'2", from Paris, number 9, Tony Parker. Head coach for the Spurs, Greg Popovich.
Last year when the Spurs won the championship, they did not have to face an elimination game. But here's one tonight, but on their home floor, where they're 5-0 so far in this postseason. And good evening, everyone. Along with Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy, Mike Green with you. Also, Heather Cox will join us shortly. Now, the home team has won every game, but look at the last game, a 22-point win by the Hornets. The previous game, a 20-point win by the Spurs. Average margin of victory in this series is 18. There's been no close games, all double-digit victories. All right, so it comes down to a Game 6 elimination game for the Spurs. What's the key?
Oh, your best players have to play their best, and that means Ginobili, Parker, and Tim Duncan. And people have taken Tim Duncan for granted for so long that he has not played as well in this series, shooting only 44%. He's got to be the Tim Duncan that we're used to seeing.
Meanwhile, for Mark, the New Orleans Hornets in unfamiliar territory. They win here at their first ever conference final. What's the key for them?
Well, certainly I echo that. Your best players in a New Orleans situation is Chris Paul and David West. Those guys have to be the ones setting the tone for the Hornets. Paul has been spectacular. Awfully impressive numbers and taking care of the basketball. Just 1.8 turnovers per game. And then David West doing a great job playing off of Paul, knocking down shots, making plays, and playing stellar defense on Tim Duncan.
Right out, let's welcome in along the sidelines tonight, Heather Cox. Hey, Heather.
Hey, Mike. The Hornets' top two front court players are not at full strength yet. Both will start tonight in this critical Game 6. David West suffered a pinched nerve in his back in the first quarter of Tuesday's game, yet finished with a career playoff 38 points. His front court mate Tyson Chandler left in the middle of the fourth quarter with what was later diagnosed as turf toe. Now, both have received round-the-clock treatment, but tonight both did admit to me that they are still stiff and sore. But as their coach Byron Scott put it, it's a good thing they're both young and hopefully able to bounce back, because, Mike, both are keys to the Hornets' bid at advancing to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah, that's right, Heather. Chandler just 25, David West 27. Of course, their leader, Chris Paul, just 23 years old, going up against the most experienced team in the NBA in terms of playoff games, the Spurs. They've been in so many of these big battles before. But, Mark, they're playing against this young team that doesn't seem fazed at all by the big moment.
Oh, you think? These guys could care less that they're playing against the San Antonio Spurs. They feel like this is their moment, and what I love about it, they're playing with an edge, a swagger. They believe they're the better team individually and collectively.
Well, as we mentioned, the Spurs 5-0 at home in the playoffs. The Hornets are 1-3 on the road. Their one victory was in Dallas. And, of course, they not only lost 2 games here in this series, they lost them badly. As we mentioned, all the games, none of them close. Pretty feed for Alberto to Tim Duncan.
That's how you want to start the basketball game. Man movement, ball movement, and finding Tim Duncan on the block for a high percentage.
And they throw high-low with the bounce pass versus over the top, which is so very unusual.
You see Manu Ginobili stays in the starting lineup. Alberto back in, so some tweaks with the lineup as Chandler drops in his first. And it's that toe injury that he hurt. Chandler took a lot of ribbing for his teammates at practice the next day. They were saying, boy, we thought you wrecked your knee or something the way you were crying on the floor and on the bench.
And I was at home watching, and I thought they were in trouble. I didn't know it was just a turf toe. Are you kidding me? You're better than that, Chandler.
Chandler, though, gets the rebound. He had a very strong game defending Tim Duncan. And as Jeff mentioned at the top, Duncan has struggled in this series in several of the games, certainly in New Orleans. David West misfires his first. Duncan did have 23 rebounds in Game 5. Parker has it deflected. West got his hand on it. And Jeff, Greg Popovich made a big deal in Game 5 talking about the Hornets defense underrated as Paul gets in, knocked away. And it's still Hornets ball. They're a pretty good defensive team.
Well, they are. It starts with Paul and Chandler. Paul has got great lateral quickness, great instincts, and Tyson Chandler patrols the paint as well as anyone. I was telling Mark before the game, he was the one guy one-on-one that gave Yao Ming trouble.
And he gave Duncan some trouble, was able to guard him without help on a number of occasions in that Game 5. Here's the help this time, though. Parker. Bowen for 3. He comes flying in for the rebound is Mo Peterson.
But that miss right there is on Tony Parker. He did not deliver that ball in Bowen's shooting pocket. The play before, he had the turnover. A very poor start for Parker.
Well, these two watching these terrific young point guards as Stojakovic knocks down the shot has been one of the real enjoyable parts of this series. We mentioned Paul's 23. Well, Tony Parker's going to be 26 on Saturday, so he's still one of the young guys.
And you can tell Tony Parker's a natural scorer where Chris Paul is a natural point guard. Stojakovic comes off the screen, puts the pass on point.
Ginobili, who has this tendency to play huge in big games like this.
I think you recognize that if you're Morris Peterson. You have to keep a body on Ginobili and make life tough for him.
Foul called on Alberto. Crowd doesn't like the call. West and Alberto doing some wrestling mid-post. We mentioned the point guards, just outstanding numbers. Parker's becoming a big-time player. Early in his career was inconsistent in the postseason. Now he's a sure bet as Paul misses. Ginobili to Alberto. Blocked. Chandler with the rejection. And a number of big blocks in game 5. West running the floor and lays it in. Now that's what they talked about, taking that aggressiveness on defense that they play at home so well and doing it here in San Antonio. Parker. Alberto.
And both point guards do a great job as they turn the corner of hesitating so the game opens up to them. Great hesitation dribble by Tony Parker.
Great penetration by Paul. And again, finding his teammate for a great open look. Paul already with 3 assists. He leads all players in assists in the postseason. Alberto pass inside to Duncan again. West got his hand on it. Duncan able to gather though and put it in.
One thing, if I was Popovich right now, I would put David West in as many pick and rolls as possible, having a tough time running up and down the floor, not really on top of his man Alberto as he sets the screen. So that's going to create a lot of opportunity.
Paul has it deflected out of bounds. Still Hornets ball, 13 on the clock.
Yeah, good job. Ball movement once again. Rotation is late. Duncan with the hands catches it underneath. High percentage look for the big time score.
Stojakovic, he's been struggling shooting the last 3 games, but his first shot tonight goes down.
Just think about how tough a shot that is. That's catching it, swinging back the opposite way. It's nothing but the bottom of the net. One of the all-time great shooters.
And Bowen's got to stay on his body versus come off his body and give Stojakovic that separation.
Parker gets inside, gets knocked to the floor. Greg Popovich looking to see if a foul was called. Instead, they'll just take it out of bounds.
As Mark said, this is an incredibly difficult shot. He comes off, he sees Bowen trying to cheat the screens. Tremendous jump shot by Stojakovic.
Bowen will inbound. Greg Popovich hot about something. Mike Budenholzer, one of the assistants, has to hold him back. Popovich got a technical in game 5. Alberto, Duncan, count it, and a foul. Great interior passing early from the Spurs.
The benefit of Popovich going with Alberto over Kurt Thomas, doing a great job of playing high, low, and pocket passing to Tim Duncan. Good job of forcing the defense to rotate to him, and then when they do, making the crisp delivery in the paint to Duncan. Great hands, great catch, and a big-time finish again.
And there you see the difference, especially on the road. He's had a couple of terrific games in this series. Had a great game 4. Of course, had that 5 points in game 1 in New Orleans. Struggled in the games down there. Right now, 1-point lead for the Hornets with 4.5 gone by here in the opening period. Of course, anything that happens in the first half of the series doesn't matter because the team that's winning at halftime usually seems to lose. This has been a third quarter series. Nice feed. Stojakovic made a difficult catch and got a hoop out of it.
He's doing an outstanding job of moving without the basketball, putting the pressure on Bruce Bowen, not able to keep a body.
Ginobili sets himself. And Manu Ginobili 2 for 2 to start. Bruce Bowen guarding Stojakovic has been a big help for the Spurs. Bowen has done an excellent job after Stojakovic had 2 great games to begin the series. Dry that time. Nice move.
That was good defense by Bowen, but on the previous 3 hoops by Stojakovic, he has not been defended like Bruce Bowen can defend.
Hornets are 7 of 10 from the field. Alberto, Duncan. And Duncan gets it to fall. He's got 8 quick points. Paul quickly down the other end. And a blocking foul on Parker before any shot attempt, so the Hornets will take it out of bounds. Paul trying to talk to Bennett Salvatore. Salvatore, Kenny Maurer, and Lonnie McCutcheon, the officials tonight.
Paul wanted actually that foul in the act of shooting. The correct call was made because he took traveling steps prior to getting the shot up, so he's taken it out on the side.
Well, Bowen comes out of the game. Ime Udoka checks in.
Paul is saying, hey, this is in the act of shooting. Does a good job of beating the Spurs down the floor. Contact from Parker, but Paul, one of the best in the business, and putting the pressure on the defense.
And the bigs of San Antonio have to sprint back and turn. That was just a horse trot back.
Duncan fires away. And here's Paul. Paul, you know, we talk about his scoring and his assists. He averaged 4.5 rebounds a game in the playoffs, in the regular season as well. A terrific rebounder for a guy his size, listed at 6 feet. Dangerous pass stolen by Parker. Parker, foul in the act of shooting. Paul picks up his first, and we'll have our first timeout.
Need a big game. Who's going to show up? Well, Manu Ginobili does a great job of selling the shot. Get off me, Mo Pete. Knocks down the jumper in rhythm. And how about Peja Stojakovic for the Hornets? Good job. Isolation. Bruce Bowen, nothing but net. We'll be back.
Back in San Antonio, where it's an elimination game for the Spurs, a closeout opportunity for the Hornets. How do the coaches deal with it in their pregame talks? Let's take a listen.
I want you to be aggressive. I want you to play freely, not in the crowd, but let it fly, play with your teammates, enjoy each other, have a hell of a night.
We do not allow them to play harder than us. We do not allow them to beat us to loose balls, long rebounds, all the little things that can cost you a game. Okay, it's our turn, it's our time.
Well, they have felt that way. It's their turn, their time. Byron Scott and the Hornets feel it's their turn to knock off the defending champions. Greg Popovich with 4 titles. And the Hornets have done it. It's been a nice process for them. They kept saying over the past couple of years it was David West who said it more often than any other. Close the gap. Get closer to the teams like the Spurs and the Mavericks and the Suns. In the last couple of years, they won 38 games, then 39 games, and this year, 56 games, second seed in the West. Some people are surprised, not the Hornets.
Well, if you look at it, a lot of those 39 and 38 win seasons, Chris Paul was injured, David West was injured, and that's why they didn't make the playoffs. So they didn't come close to this. I wouldn't have been thinking about the Spurs. I would have been thinking about the Warriors. How can we get to the 8th spot? Hey, it's not very often that you leapfrog people as much as they did in their first playoff appearance in a while.
The 56 wins, a franchise record. The 26 road wins during the regular season, also a franchise record. They knocked off the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games in the first round, and here they're up on the defending champs 3-2.
I can't tell you how proud I am of a former teammate, Byron Scott, of mine in Indiana. One thing about him, tremendous teammate, but accountability was used. Was not afraid to tell people if they should and shouldn't do.
David West, a pretty pass, and Chandler, and that toe looked pretty good. He's got 6 early points and a block shot. Ginobili banks it in. Well, we talk so much about Duncan, and Duncan has been brilliant in elimination games, but it seems the bigger the game, the better Ginobili plays.
And I think he senses right now, he looks on the floor and say, okay, who in the Hornets uniform could defend me? Now is his time to be aggressive.
Parker using the screen, comes up short, and Paul looking to push. Both teams shooting extremely well here in the early minutes. West, that's a long-range shot for him. He has mastered the 17-footer on a couple of feet beyond. Parker draws the foul, count it, and one on continuation. And a chance for a three-point play.
Well, Parker's as good as anyone pushing the ball in transition to score his own. I thought that was very good defense by Pargo, but underrated strength by Tony Parker to be able to take the contact and finish.
Parker is 5th in scoring in the playoffs at over 25 games. We showed you the numbers. Paul right behind him at 6th. Scoring point guards.
Well, one thing that's big with defending both of these guards, you can't be in a home run trot running back. 5 guys have to be back in the paint area, stopping them from penetrating.
West won't go. Duncan, quick outlet. They did a pretty solid job of keeping Parker and Ginobili out of the paint in Game 5. Parker gets in the paint. Oh, pretty play from Tony Parker. 7 straight points for the Spurs. It's amazing how cleanly, as they call a foul, how cleanly he gets his shot off with all those arms and bodies around him.
Small point guard, but loves to get into the paint and dominate that area. Great job of finding the seam and then finishing between the bigger defenders.
They call that foul on Robert Horry as Parker gets an early rest. 6 early points to Parker. Bowen is back in the game. Bowen is guarding Chris Paul. Genaro Pargo, some early action, launches his first shot. Chandler, the offensive rebound. Best in the NBA in that department during the regular season. Stojakovic. Here comes Ginobili. Ginobili really playing the point guard for San Antonio. Greg Popovich, usually Jacques Vaughn has been his backup during the regular season. Here's Udoka to the basket. Blocking foul. Pargo the foul. Udoka the bucket and a free throw. And the lead up to 7.
Again, they're posting Duncan a lot. They swung the ball. And again, a middle drive by Udoka. Gets all the way to the rim by Stojakovic. Pargo's done a good job trying to take 2 charges. Both close calls have gone against him.
So Ime Udoka with a chance for the three-point play. Paul likes to chat. And you see him with Monty McCutcheon. Free throw won't go. 7-point lead after a 9-0 run right now for San Antonio. Fonzie Wells, his first minutes. And a whistle. Tim Duncan. Is it Duncan? Or is it Horry? Robert Horry picks up his second foul in early minutes. Horry has now played more playoff games than anyone in the history of the NBA, just passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili played in so many of these big games. But right now, they've got a 7-point lead.
Scott here in the studio with the Sports Center right now. Cleveland Cavaliers guard Daniel Gibson will be out at least 1 to 2 weeks after leaving the game last night in the third quarter. If the Cavaliers advance, could be tough on him. He's one of the outside shooters LeBron trusts most. And all-star point guard Chauncey Billups has practiced with the Pistons. He is ready to play whenever Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals commences. Now let's go back to Mike, Mark, Jeff, and Heather. And guys, you can check out Sports Center at 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News.
Stewart, thank you. Hornets down by 7. Coaches already plotting with their teams during the timeouts. Let's take another listen.
Okay, good job. Let's continue to play the best defense we've played all year. Keep it up.
Yeah, get into whatever you're going to run. Get into it quicker. All right, get into it quicker, okay? Come on, baby. Let's go.
Jeff, you coached in elimination games, closeout games. I mean, the emotions are high, guys hyperventilating. In timeouts, how do you deal with that? Because you know some guys, their minds are wandering all over the place.
Well, I think what both coaches showed you, it was calm, it was poised, and it was simple. And in the playoffs, you actually get more simple versus more complicated.
Bonzi Wells misses his first shot. So after the hot start, Hornets struggling from the field. Udoka gets inside and puts it in. 4 quick points for Udoka. 11-0 run for the Spurs.
And Stojakovic is trying to start guarding somebody. He's been on 3 different guys, and he's played poor defense on all of them.
There's David West. West, who had just an unbelievable game in Game 5 with 38 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, 5 blocks, all with a back that bothered him. Or into Duncan. Duncan spinning. Tough shot.
Well, it looks like a tough shot, but it's not when your first score was easy chippy layers. All of a sudden, the basket looks huge, and Tim Duncan has found the rhythm.
I still think it's a tough shot. Paul gets fouled, gets knocked to the ground, bounces up, takes a look at Robert Horry, and then walks away. Tony Parker will return. Remind you, more Game 6s tomorrow night. 2 huge games. First in Cleveland, Cavaliers trying to force a Game 7. They trail the Celtics 3 games to 2. And then the Lakers back in Salt Lake City against the Jazz. LA with a chance to clinch, but Utah so tough to play on their home floor. Last foul was on Bowen, his first. There's Paul to the line. Now, Mark, as a young point guard trying to learn the NBA, especially come playoff time, this kid is making it look easy. What's impressed you most about the way he's performed in the playoffs?
Just has a chip on his shoulder. I mean, it doesn't matter where this guy plays, who he plays against, he feels like he's the best player on the floor. And that attitude is contagious. Guys that play with him all of a sudden can leave because of his body.
Udoka knocks it down. Ime Udoka, one of the all-time journeymen in his first year with the Spurs, playing his biggest games of his career, coming up huge here as Paul knocks down the shot. And then a whistle and a foul is going to go against the Hornets. Bonzi Wells. So they'll march down the other way as Hornets in the penalty. The basket does count by Paul. And now 2 free throws for Bowen.
I like this lineup for the Spurs. What it does is it puts you in a better situation to defend the pick and roll. 4 small guys. Horry, really a small perimeter player, does a good job. Everybody on the floor of defending.
Well, Bonzi Wells, great attribute is his offensive rebounding and brute strength. Here he just pushes Bowen out of the way as the ball was already in the air. That's why the basket counts. And since San Antonio was already in the penalty, Bowen gets 2 free throws.
Greg Popovich would like to see his team get to the line. There was a pretty big disparity in Game 5, especially in that second half. Wells and Udoka really going at it in the low post. Wells an excellent post-up player. West looking for an opening. Duncan stays with him nicely. Tough shot, short. Gets it back again.
But I like how Duncan's playing it. He's playing him to make him drive the ball instead of giving him the rhythm jump shot.
West trying to lead in, ball deflected. Bonzi Wells, not even close. Final minute, first quarter. Nice skip and go. Horry knocked away. West with a pretty block. And it's still Spurs ball.
I think the concern of your Byron Scott, every possession, your rotation has been late defensively. Guys are not on point. Defensively, they are not crisp. And that has to be a concern.
And that's the way it was in games 3 and 4. It's been all about the home team in this series more than any other series. Bowen, 3-pointer. Bang! Have hit 7 straight shots and lead by 13. What else is new in this series? A double-digit lead. About a 3-second difference between game clock and shot clock. And a defensive 3 seconds call against San Antonio. So a technical foul, 1 shot. I believe it was on Duncan. Or maybe Bowen. Bowen.
So it was on Bruce Bowen, designed to play center field to try to keep Chris Paul out of the paint. Got caught being in there a little too long.
Bowen and Duncan this week named All-NBA Defense first team. It's a regular event for those two. Shot clock turned off. Paul tied up. Julian Wright, the rookie, a brick. And that ends the first quarter. Spurs, terrific job. 15 of 21 from the field. They're 71%. Only 1 turnover. I'd say that's fairly efficient on the offensive end. And Tim Duncan always playing huge in elimination games. He's got 10 and 5. First quarter complete here in San Antonio. Spurs by a dozen.
Back in San Antonio, joined by Hornets head coach Byron Scott. And coach, the Spurs big three, 10 of 14 from the field, the majority of those inside the paint. How do you do a better job protecting the paint?
Well, that's the bottom line. We just got to be a little bit harder, play a little bit harder on the defensive end. Our rotations were bad in the first few minutes, and that got them going. So we just got to do a better job of recognizing what they're doing, and we just got to, make them an outside shooting team. That's the biggest thing.
After a strong start on the road, you allowed an 11-0 run. Where were the breakdowns?
Well, it was all on the defensive end, and then we got a little too anxious on the offensive end. We're not getting to our offense quick enough. So it's all things that we can definitely correct. It's just a matter of doing it.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
All right, Heather. The Hornets defense, Greg Popovich was raving about it, saying that they wouldn't be in the position they are right now if they weren't strong defensively. They were not, though, strong defensively in the first quarter, Jeff.
But I also think it was a lot to do with San Antonio's precision. High-low passing. Alberto to Duncan got him started the right way.
Paul. That's the rookie right out of Kansas. On the drive. Nice move.
Smart play by Wright also. Turning down the jump shot, recognizing they need to get something going offensively. Gets into the paint.
I like that young man. He's going to be 21 next month. Played a couple of years at Kansas. Kurt Thomas in the game. Thomas did not start. Alberto did. Alberto playing very well as David West called for the foul. And that's West first. We talked about the disparity home and road in terms of wins and losses. Numbers, too, back it up for San Antonio. Look at the difference in their scoring. They average 15 points more a game here at home. I know there's a big difference, but that's an incredible number, isn't it?
It is. I don't really understand that. They're a team that's been based their whole time on things that you can control. Turnovers, which are doing a good job in this series. They're a perimeter jump shooting team more and more.
Are you befuddled by that number?
I'm befuddled by why teams can't win on the road right now. Like I said to Mark and I agree. To me, it's just too much talk about how hard it is on the road versus the opportunity that's presenting itself.
Well, even the players have really started talking about it. Tim Duncan was saying that felt the Hornets the other day in Game 5 were feeding off their crowd. There have been some just tremendous crowds, mostly sellouts here in the playoffs. I think all but 3 games throughout the postseason as Duncan is fouled. And when you have certain arenas like the Hornets, it's newfound success. The place, they're crazy. Look at it in Atlanta. We did the Game 6 in Atlanta. Now you're rolling your eyes at me.
I can't believe you're trying to sell this to me.
I am trying to sell it to you.
You can't feed off thunder sticks. That's impossible, okay? Listen, I don't buy it. The noise is just noise. How can you tell if it's home noise or road noise? To me, it comes down to role players feeling more comfortable for whatever reasons in shooting the ball. At home versus on the road. Hey, you're paid. Play either way. Your game should be solid enough individually to the team that your game travels.
Mark, even when you were a young player, you weren't rattled by a crazy road crowd?
It didn't matter. I look forward to going into somebody else's building with my team and taking care of our business. It's nothing like going into somebody else's house and putting your feet on their table.
Look at that guy. He's got to.
That has me rattled, actually. But you know what home court advantage is? Having the better players. You know, to me, Chris Paul is the home court advantage. David West is the home court advantage. It isn't a bunch of guys with thundersticks. And if we can outlaw thundersticks, that's another bonus.
I think you're selling the fans short in their impact. This has gone throughout sports, throughout the history of sports, the home crowd. As West knocks it down. And that quiets the crowd.
Oh, my.
10-point lead for the Spurs. 2 minutes gone by here in the second. Stoned by Paul. Led the league in that department. And quickly gets down the other end.
How did he do that when the noise was against him? That's impossible. What a heroic feat by Chris Paul on the road. An actual steal.
All right, you made your point. I'm sorry I brought it up.
What was more impressive to me, it was a foot race between Tony Parker and Chris Paul. He cleared the way and then put his body on him, kept him on his back.
Finley to Duncan. Duncan draws another foul. It's on Chandler, and that's his first.
Well, there's people that would say Tony Parker's the fastest guy in basketball. Chris Paul gets the steal, gets the angle on him, keeps him on his back, and then finishes. Good job of exploding, seeing the finish line, and attacking.
So Duncan to shoot a couple. Duncan off to a superb start. 12 points, 5 boards.
So one of the things that could also hurt you on the road is, as we're witnessing, watching these young Hornets players getting frustrated with calls. You got to let it go. You got to continue to play and understand, okay, there's going to be some calls that's going to go your way and some that's not. Play through.
Well, Manu Ginobili was very strong after Game 5. He felt that they worried about the refs too much. They talked too much to the officials and felt that took them out of their game.
That's where leadership steps in, whether it be from Chris Paul, whether it be from Byron Scott. You have to grab these guys and say, settle down. It's a long ball.
West. Finley looking to help. Excellent defense.
That's outstanding one-on-one defense by Tim Duncan. Moving his feet, contesting the shot.
Parker, Ginobili, Finley. Parker the jump shot. Gets it to go. A 2-pointer for Tony Parker. They continue to shoot lights out. Almost 70% from the field, and we played over 15 minutes.
This outstanding offense. Guys turning down shots, getting rid of the basketball, and then making plays for one another.
Paul kicks it out. They're leaving right open. Parker pushes. Stolen by Wright. Ginobili the reach-in foul to prevent the 2-on-1 break.
And Parker got fouled on the initial break going down, which caused the turnover.
And he's going down to Bennett Salvatore to plead his case. Tim Duncan trying Monty McCutcheon.
I know you saw it.
Salvatore listening nicely, politely, but not helping.
And here's excellent one-on-one defense by Tim Duncan. Get down, big fella, and move your feet. That's an excellent defensive sequence, stance, and contest.
Recognize the help from Michael Finley also in position.
Bell studio update. Cleveland Cavalier guard Daniel "Boobie" Gibson expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks after leaving the game in the third quarter last night against the Celtics. It's, of course, if the Cavaliers advance. And Mike, Mark, Jeff, and Heather, Daniel has a first-degree left acromyoclavicular joint separation. How's that for my doctor's vernacular, guys?
Sure must have stayed at a Holiday Inn last night.
That's good.
Spurs up by a dozen on Wendy's quality matchup. That certainly hurts Cleveland. Boobie Gibson had some big games in the playoffs last year, and LeBron James obviously needs some help. What do you think about tomorrow's Game 6 in Cleveland, guys?
Well, I think if you're Cleveland, there's no concern. Take care of business at home and send the pressure back to...
And I thought Rajon Rondo gave the Celtics life down 14 when he made those two hero shot, three-point shots. I mean, those are the shots that Cleveland wanted him to take. He took them, he stuck them in the bottom and gave the Celtics life.
Yeah, they were dead in the water offensively and sinking fast. And of all guys to pull them out with threes, it's Rondo.
How about this guy using Doc Rivers language, hero shots? That's impressive.
Always trying to tie it together, Mark Jackson.
Circle of life.
Oh, man. I'm not Pumbaa.
Long-range jumper from Parker. He has become, when we talked about Ginobili before, he's become such a clutch playoff performer. I'm talking about Tony Parker now.
Well, look, if he makes that jump shot, just like if Chris Paul makes the jump shot, there are no good answers for either one. You have to live with them making and taking those two-point long jump shots.
And Parker, early in his career, he was very inconsistent in the playoffs. Of course, remember one year, Speedy Claxton had to play a lot of big minutes because Parker was struggling at times. Then there was the talk of Jason Kidd, as we have a whistle and a foul call against Tony Parker. There was talk of Jason Kidd coming to San Antonio with Parker remain the starting point guard. But look what he's done, and a big reason is he completely reconstructed his shot. Chip England, the shooting coach, one of the assistants for San Antonio, worked with him. And he said it's all Parker. Parker said, I need to get better. I need to be more consistent. And he really broke it all down like a golf swing and started anew. And he's become deadly with a mid-range jumper.
Yeah, I've never trusted those shooting coaches because most of them, what they do is they pick out the best shooters and say, hey, I'm working with Glenn Rice or I'm working with, Reggie Miller. But give Chip England and Parker credit for their work.
And there's Chip, who's done a great job with Parker. Parker gives him a lot of credit. Meanwhile, a foul called against Kurt Thomas.
That's a much improved stroke. That's a much improved stroke. I would still say that's the shot you want him taking, though, versus driving that ball to the rim.
He's been shooting over 50% last couple of seasons, about 49% right there this regular season. Chandler against Orley. Nice move from Chandler.
I like what the Spurs did defensively. You don't want to just randomly double team Chandler on the block. Make him make a tough shot.
Kurt Thomas makes a tough shot. A terrific offensive half for the Spurs as Paul gets inside. Paul 11 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Parker gets past him though. Line of contact. West gets the rebound though. Peterson hits a 3.
Well, you look at Chris Paul. The first play comes down, makes a play by himself. The second time pushes it and finds his teammate.
5 more assists for Chris Paul. There's the 2-point guards going at each other once again.
A big-time player. If he is not on the Olympic team, I am boycotting watching it. No question about it. Chris Paul has to be on the Olympic team.
He's boycotting.
Someone's always got to complain.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs. Brought to you by Volvo, who believes that life is better lived together. Volvo for life. And Dish Network. Get the most HD channels and the best HD DVR available from Dish Network.
Welcome back to San Antonio. Almost the midway point of the second quarter. Spurs facing elimination, up by 7. Tony Parker Sr., who played some ball in his day at Loyola of Chicago and then played some professional ball in Europe, watching his son, who, as usual, going to the basket hard.
And he's doing a great job penetrating. But one of the problems with penetrating point guards is if they fall down, it leaves you a man down in transition defense. Here, 4-on-3 fast break because Parker's still on the ground. Finley has to take Chandler, which opens up the wide open transition 3 by Moby. Another good decision by Chris Paul. That guy in transition consistently makes the right play.
Paul, one of the staggering numbers in the postseason, he now has 118 assists and 16 turnovers. Just an incredible assist-to-turnover ratio for a first-time playoff performer. Ginobili's shot won't go, and the Hornets will come the other way.
That time, Ginobili decided to take a tough shot in the paint as opposed to hitting a shooter, Michael Finley, wide open in the corner.
All single coverage against Parker. Kicked by Duncan, so they'll reset the shot clock to 14. Tell you about our NBA calendar. This series goes to 7. It's going to be on TNT on Monday. Same thing for Lakers and Jazz. Could be 2 Game 7s on Monday or Western Conference Finals Game 1. Lakers and Jazz again tomorrow night on ESPN. And maybe a great doubleheader Monday on TNT. Ball to Chandler.
I'm telling you, this guy doesn't have on red, white, and blue. I got a problem.
What's the boycott? I want to know what the boycott is.
He is the best point guard in the world right now. He should be representing this country. Look at the way that he's playing. Everything about him says USA.
Ginobili. And David West hit him. I believe the foul's going to go against. Nope, not West. It's against Peterson.
If he don't make the basketball team, I put him on the hockey team. I'm putting him on some team. He got to be there.
Pick and roll. The trap comes, it's automatically on point in the air. We talked about Steve Nash playing picture perfect point guard when he was back-to-back MVP awards. This guy has raised the stakes.
Ginobili kicks it out to Bowen. Of course, they won't be playing much hockey in the Beijing games.
Yeah, that was a bad trick. All right, put him in the track and field. Or put him in a swimming pool.
I mean, I knew that, but I wasn't going to call you out. There's no need for this guy to call you out.
Well, there might be somebody now going blind, seeing maybe I get some hockey tickets for the summer games.
All I know is only one of the 3 of us is doing the Olympics. He threw us under the bus to work with a different partner in the Olympics, and I got my own Chinese connection with Yao.
I think I'm going to talk to Chris Paul the boycott since we're not there.
Doug Collins says hello, by the way.
Okay.
All right, so they got somebody better than us.
Under 5 to play here in the second. A 5-point game after the Spurs went up by as many as 13. West, that's the jumper he's been hitting all season, not that time. What Chris Paul was telling us before the game, when he comes off the pick and roll, he's like a kid in a candy store. Got so many options with his team. Ginobili hits a 3. Paul on the drive, gets inside. Pretty play.
Good read again by Chris Paul, recognizing that Bruce Bowen was cheating the play, blows by him basically.
They double Duncan. Ginobili wide open. Another 3. Back-to-back 3-pointers for Manu Ginobili.
I have a man crush on Manu Ginobili. I do. I love this guy. He's my favorite player to watch in this league, night in and night out.
Udoka the foul. It was great to see him named All-NBA third team. What he does, he just does so many things to help a team win.
And he may be All-NBA third team, but he may be first team All-Competitor in this league. And when you need his best, man, he just delivers.
Well, you think about it, his own coach compared his competitive juices to Kobe Bryant, and we know where that is.
Well, he says, Popovich has said that Ginobili is the #1 competitor he's ever coached. And obviously he's had some good players here. He just plays with a passion every single night. He plays every minute like it's the final minute of a Game 7.
Wait till I tell him that Coach Van Gundy has a man crush.
Don't tell him, please. They'll avoid us.
Sometimes when I coached against him, I was just in awe of like watching the spirit he played the game with. Up 20, down 20, close game, whatever it was, you got his same passion.
A foul away from the ball. Hornets in the penalty. Second foul on Chris Paul. And this might be this regular season was maybe his best year. Of course, he was an all-star a few years ago. But he's had some, because he's always playing in the summer for Argentina, was able to rest this summer. And is healthy for change because of his style. It's unbelievable how, his body takes a beating. But look at this season, all career highs. And in many cases, as you say, the numbers, Jeff, certainly don't even come close to telling the story of his value.
Well, one of the things, too, is Greg Popovich paces his team as well as anybody in the NBA, and he faces Ginobili in particular. His minutes are way down. He does not play the huge minutes that a lot of these starters and stars do, so his numbers even look worse than they should. If they were put on a per 48-minute basis, they'd look a lot better.
Peterson, short. Thomas the rebound. During the regular season, Ginobili just 31 minutes a game. During the playoffs, 32 minutes a game.
That shows tremendous discipline by the head coach, Greg Popovich. I'm sure there's nights when you want to get him more minutes, and even your big three.
Kurt Thomas stocks it down. Well, after the Hornets have cut it to 5, the Spurs now double it up. It's a 10-point game. 14 assists here in the first half for San Antonio. Ball last touch by Ginobili. He's like a human pinball, bouncing around all over the place. Yeah, we'll take a timeout. Under 3 minutes remaining here in the second quarter. Spurs trying to make sure they've got another game this season. The San Antonio Spurs care about the community. This season, Greg Popovich lending a helping hand in the community by leading and inspiring local kids during the Junior NBA, Junior WNBA basketball clinics. Pounding the pavement during the Spurs Hope and Possibility Race for Charity as well. Supporting the team's Read to Achieve program by challenging local students with his Pops Quiz for Good Readers competition. And a whole lot more. Greg Popovich and the Spurs doing a great job this year. The NBA, where caring happens. Well, they do a great job on the court year after year, but facing elimination tonight, yet they put 55 points up on the board, 66% shooting, and right now lead by 10.
They do, and it's been an offensive execution clinic, but if I was San Antonio, I still have great concerns about my pick and roll defense. If your pick and roll defense doesn't get better, your shooting percentage is going to come back down. Their pick and roll defense must get better.
I think if you're Byron Scott, you have to challenge your own defense. You can't go into somebody else's house and allow them to shoot 65% in the first half and think you're going to have a chance to win.
But again, you look at it and the way this has gone with the hot shooting and great numbers, it's only down by 10 considering the onslaught offensively. And part of the reason New Orleans stays in, they only have 1 turnover. They're averaging under 9 turnovers a game in the playoffs. As soon as we say that, they turn it over.
We didn't say it, you said it.
But that's a great
that's right. You jinxed them, not us. No, but you're right. 9 turnovers a game. But when you are a point guard driven system like New Orleans is, and you have a great decision maker, and he doesn't give the ball up. They don't run continuity. They run pick and roll, and then what else? Pick and roll, and then again, pick and roll. That's how you're going to keep your turnovers down.
Now, the ball never touched anything, so it goes back to the original inbound, but you like the hustle from Chandler. That's what Byron Scott said at the very top. Let's make sure nobody plays harder than we do. They had a problem with the clock, so they fixed that.
The coach makes a great point. The reason why you limit your turnovers is because you're playing the numbers. You keep the ball in your best decision maker's hands, not allowing other guys or putting them in position to try to make too many home run plays.
Duncan had the big start early. He's gotten a lot of help. Parker, Udoka, Bowen. Shot clock winding down. Bowen off the dribble, can't get it. And Chandler his 5th rebound.
Great offense by San Antonio. 2 post up for Duncan. Random movement. Got right at the basket. Just missed to make it a shot.
Paul kicks it out to West. And West off the mark. Just 3 of 10 from the field. And a rare turnover down the other end. That's number 5. Udoka sits, Ginobili back in.
Now you look at that. That's good offense by the Hornets. Chris Paul in a post-up. You get a big man that can knock down the jumper. Just not able to do it so far. But if you're Byron Scott, you like the offense, you'll get it.
Stojakovic, tough drive, puts it in. Bowen battled him the whole way. Then there was some help defense, and he still knocked it down. Well, he's come alive. 13 points for Stojakovic on 5 of 7 from the field. Parker, nice spin, but couldn't finish. Good help defense. Parker down on the ground wanting a foul call. West draws the foul on Duncan. Duncan checks that he's okay, and that will probably mean something to West because that's his idol. Growing up in Teaneck, New Jersey, he was a huge Spurs fan. He liked David Robinson, and then when they got Tim Duncan, he was hooked. He says Duncan is his guy. He's long admired him. Now getting a chance to play against him. We asked him if he mentioned to Duncan how much respect and admiration he has. He goes, I can't do that now.
Well, it's refreshing to look at a young guy that respects Tim Duncan, admires him, gives him all the credit, and then says, I'm going after you. We'll talk about that later, but I'm coming after you.
And he has certainly done that. As you said, Jeff, earlier tonight, Tim Duncan might be the greatest power forward to ever play the game, but he hasn't been the best power forward in this series.
3 years ago, any team could have traded for David West. They're ready to give him away after 2 years in the league. And sometimes it just takes time to get better and find your game. And it always helps when you get an all-world point guard like Chris Paul to run pick and roll with.
And he'll be the first one to tell you that. Defensive 3-second. First couple of years, again, he didn't play a heck of a lot. You see the numbers the first 2 years. Then the third year, he was second in the NBA in voting in for the most improved. Between those 2005 and 2006 years, he took about 500 jumpers a day, continued to work on his game. He gives credit, like another Hornets player does, to P.J. Brown. Brown was a veteran teammate for him. He said he taught him a lot. Chris Paul told us the same thing about P.J. Brown. They learned from a veteran. They just kept working and working, and now they're both all-stars.
One thing you don't realize as a veteran, how much impact you have on the future of the game. P.J. Brown certainly did that with these two young, bright stars.
And he's still doing it with the Boston Celtics now, as we're in the final minute here of the second. Ginobili, right back to Duncan. Ginobili, another three, puts it in, his third three-pointer of the first half.
And what people don't realize, if point guards in this league that's in the same position as Tony Parker that would be upset that Manu Ginobili took that shot as opposed to swinging the basketball. But they trust each other, they are winning.
Ginobili, another three. And Peterson will come the other way. They'll hold it for the final shot of the half. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, the Toyota halftime show. Stuart Scott and the gang will be there. Final seconds here of the second. It's coming up right after the second quarter. Hits his ball. How did he put that in? And a delay of game warning call against the Hornets.
Watching these 2 point guards, I can't believe that we are not paying to sit in these seats. This is a blessing to be able to watch these two guys play at this level.
They're putting on a show.
No, it's personal, it's with an edge. Spectacular strength, able to hang in the air and then upset somebody.
15.6 assists for Paul. NBA playoffs at ABC continue on Sunday, 3:30 Eastern. It's either going to be Game 7, the Cavs at the Celtics, or Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That could be Cleveland-Detroit. That could be Boston-Detroit. We know Detroit's in there. Either way, a terrific matchup for you coming up on Sunday on ABC at 3:30 Eastern. Final seconds, first half. Duncan gets it off. Comes up short. The second quarter comes to a close. Well, the Spurs are in trouble. They're leading at halftime. This series, the team that's been up at half is 1-4. The third quarter is told the tale, but the Big Three doing a terrific job, led by Manu Ginobili with 15 points, 3 3-pointers, and he's with Heather Cox.
Indeed, and those 15 points by Manu really coming from all over the floor. Where are you able to take advantage of the Hornets defense?
Yes, that's what we're trying to do, move the ball and find the open guy. I just had the opportunity to make three-pointers, and that really helped open up the defense, but I think we're all doing a good job moving the ball. We just get a little stagnant for some parts of the game.
Describe the mindset and the personality that you're sensing from this team in the first half facing elimination.
It's a really tough situation, but there are a lot of teams that have been in here, so we just got to try to think as the next game is the most important one. We forget about Game 7. This is the most important game for us in the season, and we're gonna try to grab it.
All right, we'll let you get to the locker room. Thanks, and Jeff, I saved you. I didn't admit to the man crush by you.
Well, Jeff, we'll discuss that in the second half. Coming up, the Toyota halftime show. Stuart Scott, John Barry, Stephen A. Smith. A little conversation, Bill Russell and Kevin Garnett. The updates on the injuries for Detroit's Chauncey Billups and Daniel Gibson of the Cavs, and the coaching candidates for the Suns. All coming up. The Toyota halftime show. Elimination game for the San Antonio Spurs. Right now, 2 quarters complete here in Game 6. The defending champs up 7.
Welcome to the Toyota halftime show.
Is it corny or cheesy to say that he is the man, New? Is that silly?
Corny. It's corny, but it's true.
Does it fit?
It fits right now.
Manu Ginobili, 15 points in the first half. Spurs lead the Hornets 58-51 at recess. Welcome to the Toyota halftime show. Stuart Scott, Stephen A. Smith, John Barry. The San Antonio Spurs, defending champions, are shooting like 58%, and yet they only lead 7. Who's in a better spot right now?
Well, the teams that are leading are 1-4 in this series, but I like the way San Antonio is playing. It's all because of Tim Duncan. You knew in an elimination game at home he was going to play well. He's averaging 31 in those games, and it's not just as much as scoring. He's got 14, he's got 8 boards, but everything the Spurs are doing is going through him. Their ball movement is terrific. 15 assists. He's been patient. He's taking it when he doesn't get the double team, and when he gets the double team, he's a willing passer, knocking the ball outside. Guys are knocking down threes. They're 5 of 8. And you said that hot shooting, but New Orleans is hanging around, so I'd be a little bit concerned.
Manu Ginobili is hitting 3-pointers, hit about 3 3-pointers late in the first half. Bottom line is they're shooting well from the field. You can't ignore that. You also can't ignore the fact that the New Orleans Hornets haven't gotten a hand up on some of those perimeter shots. They need to be more aggressive defensively. Keep your eyes on this, though. The San Antonio Spurs are shooting like 9 of 14 from the free throw line. That's 64%. The New Orleans Hornets have hit all of their free throws. Stuff gets tight. They might send San Antonio to the line. We'll see how they respond because Tim Duncan isn't the greatest free throw shooter in the world. Just out of your mind.
Got to show you this play. We always see Chris Paul to Tyson Chandler. John Barry, why was this one in the first half so much better than all the great ones that we've always seen?
It was kind of a no-look lob pass, and it was a hook pass. First of all, he crosses over, then again through the legs, and it's a hook pass that he doesn't even look. He knows this play is going to work. He reads where Kurt Thomas is. He knows he can get over the top of him. I've run out of superlatives for this guy. He is absolutely sensational.
He's sensational.
Got to give Chandler some love, too, because Chandler knows exactly where to be at all times.
John Barry mentioned that the Spurs are 62.5% from the land of 3. It is exactly 62.5% that Derek Fisher is hitting in 3-pointers in the Lakers series against the Utah Jazz. Game 6 is tomorrow night from Salt Lake City. Home team has held serve every game. Kobe scoring 33 per game in this series. Utah go 9-1 all-time against the Lakers in home playoff games. Real quickly, guys, give me a winner. One-word winner. This game tomorrow night.
Series over, as you would say. Over.
Utah.
No.
Some other news. Since we're talking Lakers, former Laker great Kurt Rambis won 4 titles. One of the people mentioned prominently as one of the possibilities to become the Phoenix Suns' next head coach.
He's one of them. Even though I can't imagine that he's a Laker. I don't know how the Phoenix Suns fans would respond to them bringing a Laker in. Terry Porter spoke to him the other day. I was in Detroit. Very interesting that he'll be talking to the Suns as well.
Coming up on our halftime show, you cannot miss this. One Celtic great to another. Wait till you hear the words and the inspiration from Bill Russell to Kevin Garnett as the Celtics get ready to try and close out the Cavaliers. Come back. Check us out, the Toyota Halftime Show.
The Toyota Halftime Show is brought to you by Toyota. Moving forward.
Parker has gone from national champion to the WNBA's #1 pick. In her first game, she'll face the 2007 champion, Phoenix Mercury, and their all-star, Diana Taurasi. Can Parker become the next player to win titles in both leagues? The season debut of the WNBA, Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on ABC.
Welcome back to the Toyota Halftime Show.
Some other news notes. 81 years young Joe Paterno was taken to the hospital today for dehydration. He did not stay overnight. In fact, he's on his way to Texas to have dinner with Texas coach Mack Brown. Elsewhere, Chauncey Billups missed the last 2 games of the Magic series. He expects to play in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, whether it begins on Sunday or Tuesday. He practiced today. His coach said he looks fine. The focus of the Sports Nation for the NBA fan tonight is all about Cleveland, where the Cavaliers will host the Celtics tomorrow night. Boston 0-5 on the road this postseason. Daniel Boobie Gibson expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks, so he's not playing in this game or Game 7, should it be. Injured his shoulder in the game yesterday. From one Celtic great to another, legend Bill Russell and Kevin Garnett.
I'm so glad to see you guys doing it.
We're trying.
No.
Time look kind of rough, but we're trying.
I always said you were my favorite player to watch.
Always.
You never disappoint me.
You crack so many jokes, I don't know if that's real or not.
No, it's real.
I'm joking.
And you never disappointed me.
Thank you. Hey, but
and you finally got on the right uniform.
I finally got the tradition that comes with this organization, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be a part of that, and I just want you to know that first off. When you come in here and you put the green on, responsibility comes with that. Every time I suit up, I think about that.
I think that you're going to win at least 2 or 3 championships here. Okay? And if you don't, but I see you playing the way you should play, I'll share one of mine with you.
I feel you.
This is a genuine friendship thing I'm talking about. But if you play the way you play and you dedicate yourself to doing it, they will come. It's like that field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. You may have to put your arms around a couple guys and take them with you. But you can't drag them. You got to put your arms around and take them with you. Okay? And you have no idea how proud I am of you. I couldn't be any more proud of you than I am of my own kids. And I see you at number 5. That's close to 6.
He's the greatest champion ever, Bill Russell is. 11 championships in 13 years. Imagine what that feels like when you've never made it to a conference finals except for once, to have that man tell you, if you play hard, I'll share one of my rings with you. Hey, let your voices be heard, fans. Log on to ESPN.com, search Sports Nation, and check out our doubleheader tomorrow night. Cavs Celtics. Coverage begins at 7:30. Late game, Lakers Jazz. 2 great Game 6s tomorrow night. Speaking of great, Chris Paul, between his legs, crossover, dipsy-do, over the shoulder, no look, ridiculous, and yet his team is down 7 to the defending champion. Second half coming up right here on ESPN.
The Toyota Halftime Show is brought to you by Toyota. Moving forward. It's time for the McDonald's I'm Lovin' It highlights.
Are you
Those were the McDonald's I'm Lovin' It highlights.
Third quarter from San Antonio. Greg Popovich and Tony Parker who had their ups and downs as Parker learned Popovich's system. Now they're on the same page almost all the time, and what a player Parker's developed into. As the Spurs lead it here in Game 6, 58-51 in an elimination game for San Antonio. But boy, they play like that to start with such terrific zest, such terrific energy to begin the game. Meanwhile, we're talking about Parker. Parker having to battle Chris Paul. Not an easy assignment, Mark.
Well, the similarities of both point guards. You talk about contrasting point guards. Both guys having an impact on the ball game. Tony Parker, pick and roll situations. You give him the jumper, makes you pay the price. On the other end, Chris Paul go underneath the screen and roll, knocks down the jumper. How about Tony Parker? Trap, makes the play. Chris Paul on the other end, upstairs, pay the price defensively. And then both guys as good as it gets as being little guys able to finish between the seams. Both guys stellar first half, sending a message to their supporting cast.
Both playing extremely well here in those first two quarters. Meanwhile, offensively, Jeff, Spurs couldn't play much better in that first half.
Oh, precise execution. Here, Duncan is fronted by David West. They go high-low, but they do it in an unusual way. Instead of throwing it over the top, Oberto with the bounce pass to Duncan with great hands. And here, again, an extra pass by Oberto off the pick and roll. Good bounce pass, great hands by Duncan with the finish. And then finally, Duncan doubled in the low post. Good extra passing, touch passing, Ginobili from deep.
But you look at all the offensive efficiency. As a turnover to start, Parker puts it in. I was just about to say the Hornets should feel pretty good that they were only down 7, that they start off the third with a miscue.
And Greg Popovich right away goes to Bowen on Paul and Parker on Mo Pete.
David West struggled shooting in the first half, but knocks that one down. He's now 4 of 11.
I think Duncan's got to make West drive, particularly with a bad back. See if he can drive and finish versus shoot the standstill jump.
Now that's Stojakovic. Ginobili limps a little bit right after the bump by Stojakovic as we check in with Heather Cox.
Guys, the third quarter in this series has been the X factor. It's determined the outcome of 4 of the 5 games in this series. So the big question to Byron Scott is, how do you come out of the locker room ready? He said we have to be more aggressive. We've been too passive. Our rotations are slow. He said what you said, Mike. The good news is we're only down by 7, and they're shooting 63% from behind the arc. The other big question mark, David West. He was the last one out of the locker room, had heat on it throughout halftime, and when he has played well against the Spurs, the Hornets have won. Byron Scott said they need him to execute in this half.
You know, Heather, and watching him walk up the floor as Paul misses, it's stiff, you can tell. Everybody's had a bad back. They know that gait, the way you go up and down, that it's bothering him. But of course, I know you both guys, you both subscribe to the theory of, all right, if you're out there playing, forget about it, don't even talk about the injury. Am I allowed to mention it once in a while?
Well, it's actually a pandering to your back situation that we have to endure. So, yes, we know what it looks like because we see you walk around. It's very difficult for you to sit here and announce. I can't imagine what it's like for David West to actually try to play against Tim Duncan of the Spurs with a bad back.
I like that he's competing and showing up as opposed to having his buddy carry his luggage like we do.
Good point. Good point.
All right. Somebody's going to inbound. San Antonio will. We're just over a minute gone by here in the third. They led by as many as 13 in that first half. Hornets cut into the lead several times. New Orleans briefly a 3-point lead early in the first quarter. Parker, nice defense from West. Alberto. And here comes Paul.
It's amazing. West can run better to the offensive end than he can to the defensive end. I haven't seen that with too many NBA players.
Paul, alley-oop. I thought that was an alley-oop, didn't you?
Well, he actually went in the air to throw the alley-oop and recognized that the defense got back that good that he can get a shot attempt off.
Another good defensive play. Peterson with a double team on Duncan. Paul goes right at Bowen. Puts it up. They're going to wave it off. Offensive foul. And that's his third as he used the left arm to push off.
This is good, solid defense by Bruce Bowen. Backpedaling, able to keep Paul in front of him. No foul, contest, offensive foul as Paul uses the off.
And the restricted area is negated on that play, especially by the offensive player pushing off, so it doesn't commit to playing the call. Ginobili a one-hander, short. Here comes Paul. And another push off. Bowen's hustle forcing yet another offensive foul, and that's 4 personals on Chris Paul.
we talked about in the first half, guys running back defensively, having a sense of urgency. Bruce Bowen does not quit on the play, committed to getting in front of Paul, uses the arm to shove him away.
Well, that's just all-out hustle from Bowen getting back on defense.
And I like the decision to keep Chris Paul in the game.
Bowen misses Peterson the rebound. Hornets had 2 turnovers the first half. They have 3 in 2.5 minutes of the third quarter. Stojakovic. And Duncan already with 10 rebounds. 5-point game here early in the third. As they call a foul on David West. And West now has 2. Peterson trying to tell West to forget about it.
And I agree with Coach keeping Chris Paul in the ball game, but what I would do, a subtle adjustment, is put Paul on Bruce Bowen as opposed to having him defend Tony Parker.
Duncan. Shot clock winding down. And West picks up his 3rd foul. By the way, Paul this year has not fouled out. Didn't foul out in the regular season. Didn't foul out at all in the playoffs yet.
The difference in West, no longer is he trusting his ability to fight through plays and moving, trusting his feet. Now he's trying to manhandle guys, and this time gives up on moving his body and contesting, gets his arm in there. That's a foul. No sense in being upset about it. Got your hand caught in the cookie jar.
Being able to manage your emotions and your frustrations is critical in winning, in period, but particularly, as you mentioned earlier in the game, on the road. Some calls are not going to go your way. How do you handle that and persevere?
And you usually find, certainly as the series goes on, the longer it goes, the more physical it gets. Players a little more used to each other, kind of know each other's tendencies, tempers flare a little bit more. And obviously the game's more important as the series goes on.
I think if you're Hornets, you say, hey, things haven't gone our way, and we are right there. Let's settle down. Let's begin to chip away at this thing.
Ball. This time Duncan makes him put it on the floor, and another offensive foul, and West has 4. West is upset. He's got to be careful. And the 2 All-Stars for the Hornets, each with 4 personals early in the third. Technical foul, David West. Chris Paul trying to gather the team and letting him know what he thinks about keeping it under control.
And this is outstanding defense by Tim Duncan. Moving his feet, not getting his arm in there like West did on the other end. Taking hit, offensive foul, and Chris Paul being a true leader, gathering his guys.
And get Monty McCutcheon credit, the referee. He tried to give West room to complain, and then on the second complaint, which involved a little choice words, that's when he hit him with the technical foul.
4 turnovers already here in this third quarter for New Orleans. 3 of them on offensive fouls. West still upset. And it's back up to an 8-point lead for San Antonio. Mark, you can bet he's aware Paul's got the 4 fouls. Paul stays aggressive and comes up with a steal. He led the NBA in that department in the regular season. Peterson inside. Tough shot won't go. Duncan and Chandler get caught up. Hornets have played with so much poison these playoffs. Oh, what a pass. Duncan to Alberto. Timeout. Hornets, standing ovation for the Spurs. But they are in foul trouble, and that's our Verizon Wireless game track. Those fouls piling up here to begin the third quarter.
See the offensive foul with Paul, and then the shove in transition. David West trying to fight through the screen. These are all legit calls. Reaching on Tim Duncan's post move, and then one-on-one defense by Duncan takes the offensive foul. No sense in complaining. Regroup and try to get it back.
There you see both with the 4 fouls. West will sit now. Paul staying up. West is going to stay in the game, as is Paul. Now, Chris Paul has never fouled out in his NBA career, 3 years plus the playoffs. Not once, not one time. West has fouled out 3 times, so both do a good job of staying in the game with the fouls. Good ball going out from Parker. West got in Peterson's way. Shot clock winding down. Peterson trying to create. Oh, knocked loose and Alberto on the rebound. Spurs offense was terrific in the first half. Its defense superb here to start the third. Bowen. Duncan, tough shot, won't go. Rebound West. That's a good defensive sequence from the Hornets. Every time there was an open shooter, somebody came out to contest.
Good defense, but Bruce Bowen has to take that first shot in the corner.
Paul gets inside. And he's got 19 now. In his first playoffs, he's averaging 25 a game. Just incredible numbers for a young point guard. Parker. This time nobody comes out. Parker makes him pay.
And to me, that's where Tim Duncan has improved the most since he first came into the NBA as a passer. He was turnover prone against double teams and against rotations early in his career. Now, I'm not even going to finish my sentence. Is this guy ridiculous or what as a point guard? If I'm Tyson Chandler, he's got a Rolex on his. He's making this guy's career.
Just one? I think you got to give him a couple.
And Mrs. Paul, if there's a Mrs. Paul.
Turnover Alberto. They all say it. They all talk about, every guy on the team talks about what a great guy he is to play with, what a leader he is.
But this is just phenomenal vision. Getting in the lane, fighting off the defense, and then setting the table.
This time drives, this time shoots and puts it in. 21 points.
And my guy, Coach Ryan Bowen, who's on the Hornets bench in Houston, and he told me Chris Paul treats every person in their organization the same. From Byron Scott to himself to the guys at the practice facility. It's just the utmost respect.
Ginobili caught up. Parker gets inside, blocked by Chandler. That was close to being a goaltender. Now Paul just recently had his birthday and they had a party for him, the team did, but he didn't want to be the only guy as we have a foul there. Anybody who had a birthday even close to his, he said, no, it'll be a birthday party for a whole bunch of us. That's the kind of stuff that he does all the time. Another road trip during the course of the year, he had a big bowling tournament for the whole team. Everybody shows up. For a young guy to be a leader of the team, and there's no jealousy from the veterans, is highly unusual. West misses.
The reason why there's no jealousy is what you touched on, how he conducts himself on and off the floor. Guys have to respond and react, and they give him the credit for their success.
Coming up on 5 minutes here in the third. Ginobili for three. That's good. 4 3-pointers for Manu Ginobili. Paul, Chandler. What a joy to watch. Chandler's 7th for 8 from the field, courtesy the kid they call CP3. 21 points, 7 assists, but his team still trails by 8.
Popovich said, organized playground basketball. You need to apologize. This guy's putting on a clinic, threading the needle, finding guys in the seams. Thing of beauty.
I don't call him CP3. I call him MVP.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs. Brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And Taco Bell. Think outside the bun.
Back in San Antonio, Spurs lead at 71-63 despite the heroics so far. Chris Paul is having a tremendous game. As we mentioned, all his teammates just rave about Chris Paul, including David West, who says he knows he's playing with a remarkable young man.
He's special. He's been special. You know, not just his basketball ability, but you know, just his personality is contagious. He's one of those guys that if you just see him in passing, you may not know who he is, but you know that he's important somewhere.
These are all these older veterans talking about this young point guard.
Just unbelievable. Once again, the vision, you help, put it upstairs. Look how high it is where only one man can get it. Tyson Chandler with the finish. Talk about tough and strength. Takes the hit, still under control, puts it on point. And then a great job off the pick and roll. Crisp bounce pass where it can only be placed. Chandler with the big time finish again.
I don't want Ginobili to get jealous, but I might be switching my allegiance to Chris Paul.
Paul this year's second in the voting for MVP that Kobe Bryant won. And another turnover. Good defense forcing that one. As we send it over to Heather Cox.
When you see Chris Paul's composure, his leadership, his numbers, 25 and 11 in this series, it's hard to believe this is just his second year in the league. Yet the pup admits he is still very nervous before every game. He says, my stomach is my biggest enemy. It's always churning. My nerves are so bad. My teammates all make fun of me. He even admitted to driving in the bus on the way to the arena today, telling his teammates, I've won an AAU championship, I've played in the NCAA tournament, but this is the biggest game of my life. Nothing compares to this. And he's feeding off that nervous energy tonight.
He certainly hasn't played in Wake Forest for 2 years. First round pick back in 2005. Now his third year in the NBA as he brings it up the other way. They like to tease him too, as hard as he is on his teammates. As West can't hit that shot, Duncan the rebound. He had a game where he shot it like 33 times, which was unusual for him. His teammates after the game were saying, hey, Kobe, did you get enough shots?
I tell you the concern, if I'm Popovich, if there's a game 7, you have to find a way to limit these good looks that the Hornets are getting. Every time down the floor, they are getting good, solid offensive trips off the play of Paul.
And they're getting better shots in this half than San Antonio is.
Parker defended him well that time. He'll try it again. Single coverage, kicks it out. Peterson and Ginobili was in the wrong place, wrong time. Not to be in the act of shooting. Third foul on Ginobili. Our NBA calendar Monday on TNT. The guys at TNT might have 2 great game 7s, depending on how these series goes. Spurs, Hornets, Jazz, Lakers, or at the very least, they'll have the Western Conference Finals game 1. Spurs trying to force at least one game 7 tonight with a victory. Jazz will try and do the same tomorrow night on ESPN. And reach-in foul. Only the 3rd team foul. And 3rd on Parker. Spurs have led most of the way, up by as many as 13.
And because the Hornets go away from the pick and roll and post up, Chris Paul, Popovich switches and puts the bigger Bruce Bowen on Paul.
Remember, he's having his 3rd quarter with 4 fouls. As you said, Jeff, you thought it was a good decision. Keep him in. Paul has to put it up as the shot clock was winding down, and it certainly paid off.
And I really like what the Spurs are doing now. They're trapping Chris Paul. You cannot just let him come off and probe your defense time and time again. Good adjustment again by San Antonio.
Duncan. Stojakovic comes to help. Udoka, a 3. It's good. Ime Udoka does it again from outside. 10 points in 12 minutes.
And a good play by Udoka. Instead of staying where New Orleans could rotate to him, he came over another step or 2, which made the rotation longer. And this is what is called replacing in front of the passer. Here comes Udoka all the way in front of Duncan, so there is no rotation. Stojakovic had to double and get back. That's too long a run. Good adjustment individually by Udoka.
Picks up his second foul that time. Fargo, that's a three. It won't go. And Chandler, who does that so well, gets a new 24 for his team. West, hesitant. Alberto on the rebound.
And by trapping the pick and roll, you force some of these jump shooters as opposed to allowing Chris Paul to get into your seams and get better looks.
Duncan doubles, left-handed, flips it in. And the lead is 13, equaling the largest of the game.
The Spurs running their offense through Tim Duncan. One time reads the double team, finds the shooter. The other time, one-on-one, makes a tough move.
Fargo to the rim. Wild shot, not a good one. Here comes Udoka. And he'll bring it back out. Udoka kicks it out to Parker. Shot clock down to 7. Duncan. Here comes Paul. Hornets have the numbers. 3-on-1. Fargo. Block. Udoka with the rejection. Inside. Counted. And a foul. And the Spurs with their largest lead of the game. The play of Ime Udoka off the bench.
Doesn't quit, getting back in transition, says to Fargo, get it out of here. Not on my watch. Setting up, pushing the ball in transition. Duncan avoiding the shot blocking ability, gets the basket and the foul.
Talk about your long road to the NBA. Ime Udoka started off in junior college, a couple of years as a JUCO player. Then 1 year at USF, 1 year at Portland State. Wasn't drafted back in 2000. Didn't make the NBA till 2004. Played in Spain, France, the D-League, the IBA, the USBL. As they get the rebound off the free throw miss. And now Udoka playing the biggest game of his career in the NBA and coming through clutch big time.
And New Orleans has cracked a little bit mentally. Bow in this stretch.
Paul takes it away. Paul to the basket. Short. Duncan his 15th rebound. And the Spurs in control. Well, a team that has won the third quarter has won every game in this series. San Antonio has won the third quarter here tonight. Ginobili. And the period comes to an end. Often in the playoffs, an unlikely hero emerges. Tonight, Ime Udoka making big plays. And the Spurs as a unit playing superb basketball. Facing elimination tonight, the defending champs putting on a show. 3 quarters complete. We'll head to the fourth with San Antonio holding a 15-point lead.
In San Antonio, where the Spurs have the largest lead of the game, joined by head coach Greg Popovich. And coach, the third quarter has dictated success in this series. What was the key to coming out of the locker room and winning this quarter?
Well, we played pretty good defense in the quarter. That's always first for us. If we can do that, it gives you an opportunity to win a game. But we've made some shots on top of it, and so we're ahead right now.
How did your strategy change once Chris Paul picked up his 4th personal foul?
Well, we tried to go at him a couple of times, but decided that probably wasn't working very well. We better just play all together and see what happens. So we went away from it, to be honest.
Coach, we'll let you get to the huddle. Thank you.
All right, Heather, and they got a big boost off the bench from Ime Udoka. Tim Duncan having another terrific performance in an elimination game. And the third quarter, once again, goes to the home team. The series has gone that way throughout. The third quarter has been won by the home team. And gone on to win that particular game. So a 15-point hole right now to start the fourth. How do the Hornets get their way back into it?
Well, I first like the substitution of Mike James, who is instant offense. If Fargo struggling like he has, you've got to find some way to jumpstart offensively.
Ginobili, catch a trade. 5 3-pointers from Manu Ginobili. And the Spurs busting this one open.
Well, one thing you like about the Spurs all night long from the jump is the ball movement. Guys making unselfish plays, finding one another in the paint and also on the perimeter.
San Antonio 9 for 16 from downtown. Stojakovic. Pargo can't get it to fall. And again, none of the games have been close, all won by double figures, although game 3, Hornets hung in there. And right now, they're in a bad way. Manu Ginobili lighting it up. It's a 21-point lead.
But what you see is the Spurs recognizing that they're double teaming Tim Duncan. You leave a shooter wide open, you will pay the price.
Pargo keeps shooting, and Pargo keeps missing. 0 for 5. He's been a spark off the bench throughout the season, but not tonight.
You're Popovich. If they're going to double team, we'll play out of the post. Tim Duncan making great decisions just like Chris Paul does in pick and roll. So you put him on the block and then make plays out of the double.
And Duncan's out right now, but going forward into Game 7, I'm going to let Tyson Chandler guard him one-on-one and over time hope to wear Duncan down versus letting him pass out to easy, wide-open jump shots.
Ginobili, it's deflected, and David West is hurt, and it's his back. David West in a lot of pain. He went down. Of course, he injured the back in Game 5 and was struggling. We've seen him grimace at times tonight, but it looked like he landed awkwardly, kind of snapped backwards a bit. You see it, there it is. Come backwards. You get one of those spasms, forget it. Your pain just shoots down. David West still down, as we'll take a timeout. The Hornets in a heap of trouble right now as they're trailing big against the Spurs. More importantly, David West re-injuring his back. Struggling tonight, shooting from the field, but struggling more now after getting the back hurt in this play with Robert Horry. Horry was called for the foul on the play. Coming up, a hard pick. What do you think of that? Anything malicious there?
Sad to see David West leave. But I know a bunch of old school guys jumping up and down right now, chanting Robert Horry's name. A clean play, a back screen for a guy that has had back problems. That's playoff basketball. That's a good winning play by Robert Horry. No complaints at all.
Of course, last year, Robert Horry's foul on Steve Nash completely turned that series around. We certainly hope David West is going to be okay to play in a Game 7. There's no doubt he's done for tonight.
I mean, the Hornets may say something, they may have a problem with it, but if Robert Horry was on the Hornets and the same situation occurred to Tim Duncan or someone else, that is the play to make, and that's winning basketball.
Horry knocks it away. You know, we always talk about Horry and his big shot, Bob, and the three-pointers as he puts that one up. But he's always been a very clever defender.
Well, there's a reason why this guy has so many rings. He's a winner, and he does all the little things to put his team in position to win. No coincidence.
7 rings with 3 different teams, including 2 rings here with San Antonio.
He also picks his team well.
Simply misses Stojakovic the rebound. Yes, he does.
But he's made plays in the middle of all those championship runs on both ends of the floor.
Always plays for a team that has a great center. That time Horry called for a foul. Of course, the big play last year in the conference semifinals was at the end of Game 4. Phoenix had won, and because of that foul, a couple of Suns coming off the bench, Mari Stoudemire, Boris Diaw, they were suspended for Game 5. As the Spurs won Game 5 and Game 6 to advance and go on and win another championship.
To me, those 2 fouls are totally different. The foul in the Phoenix series, to me, is a flagrant foul. This foul, maybe an offensive foul, maybe a no call, truthfully. No maliciousness to that at all.
He just played defense behind on a guy who was getting fed the ball in the post. Udoka hits another one. He made Udoka 13 points in 17 minutes. He's 5 for 5 from the field. And the Spurs have just blown this one open. And barring a miracle, it was going to be a Game 7. I know it's early in the fourth to say it, but San Antonio complete control. Let's find an update on David West. Heather?
Guys, as you saw, David West did head back to the locker room where he's currently being assessed by their head athletic trainer, Terry Koffler. He did tell me that David West is in a tremendous amount of pain. They think that he re-aggravated that pinched nerve suffered in Game 5. Has eyes on it, is not expected to return.
Doesn't make a difference right now. San Antonio just rolling here at home once again. Another big home win in this series. If the Spurs continue this way, with 8 minutes to go, they're up by 24. Offensive foul. That's the third offensive foul on Paul and his 5th personal.
See the defense by the Spurs. Now they are forcing Chris Paul to get rid of the basketball. 2 guys on him. Kurt Thomas, as good as it gets at defending the pick and roll, takes the hit for Paul. Offensive foul.
The score in the second half is 31-14. Only 14 points for New Orleans in 16 minutes.
I like the aggressiveness to trap Paul. I think it makes New Orleans do something they don't want to do, which is get the ball out of Paul's hands. And if that first shot's not available, then it leads everyone else into being a decision maker.
Mike James draws the foul on his way to the basket.
And Mike, you have Gennaro Pargo coming back in the game here for Chris Paul. I think it's imperative for San Antonio to give him nothing. Even though this game is over, give him nothing to build on going into Game 7. He's in a horrendous shooting slump. He is instant offense. That's how he thinks of himself. New Orleans got nothing off the bench tonight. You've got to convince Jock Vaughn. You've got to get into him and give him nothing.
Paul, no doubt done. 28 points, 8 assists. Again, Game 6 is to him tomorrow. 2 terrific games for you on ESPN. First from Cleveland, Celtics and Cavs at 8 Eastern. Boston with a chance to advance. Then the Lakers with a chance to advance. And they'll be in Utah in the second game of that doubleheader as the conference semifinals continue. Jock Vaughn in the game. Now, ironically, we were talking before the game about the fact that as Barry puts up a 3 short, that if there's a Game 7, as Udoka with the steal, and it certainly looks like there's going to be. Initially thought the fact that it's not till Monday night, that wouldn't be good for New Orleans. And a chance to think for so many days about having to defeat the defending champs. But now with the West injury, maybe having that extra time is a real bonus for them.
Well, you think about the similarities with Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers. The extra time to have constant treatment and take care of that bad back. Hornets are going to need it with West.
Ryan Bowen misfires at Ori. With the rebound.
But I also think it's good for San Antonio. They get an extra day to look at their pick and roll coverage. An older player like Duncan to get more rest. I think it'll serve both teams well.
The old guys, the Spurs, the old men. Once again, right in the thick of things. Robert Ory. Comes Julian Wright. Now, Mark, we also talked before the game. Again, there's still 6.5 to go as Wright cuts it to a 20-point game. I asked you about, do the Hornets have to win tonight to win the series? How important was it? And you felt the key was that they needed to play well. All right, if they lost, they still have a Game 7 at home, but they needed to play well and have some downstream in if they got whacked. Well, they're getting whacked pretty good here in the second half.
Well, they're getting whacked, but it hasn't been a three-quarter whack. The Spurs began to create separation in the second half when they took control of this basketball game. I think it's important for the Hornets to realize the mistakes that they made in this ball game and then put themselves in position to make the proper adjustments and be ready for Game 7.
And I really like what Oberto did for San Antonio tonight. Passing the ball, defending, blocking out, rebounding. Again, another small tweak by Greg Popovich who started that turned out so very well.
Timeout call by San Antonio. Once again, the home team in control. Chris Paul was amazing during a stretch in the third quarter, but he couldn't stop the runaway train of the San Antonio Spurs.
In the studio with a reminder, you'll see the Cavaliers and Celtics Game 6 tomorrow night on ESPN. You will not see Daniel Gibson, at least not in uniform. A separated shoulder suffered last night will require at least a week of downtime. Key NBA shoot-around starts it off tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern.
Five matches past the midway point here in the fourth. New Orleans playing out the string right now, down by 20. They've trailed by as many as 24. That Cavs-Celtics series tomorrow night, first game of the doubleheader of Game 6. Like this series, home team has won every game. LeBron James starting to find the offense. The Celtics still looking for their first postseason win on the road. That's the first of the doubleheader with Utah and the Lakers second tomorrow night. Barry knocks it down. Well, we've had one Game 7 so far in the playoffs. We had the Boston, Atlanta. Boston winning. And this one's going to be a Game 7. Again, not till Monday night. Back in New Orleans. TNT will have that game.
I watched last year during the finals, Brent Barry in practice coming off down, popping at the three-pointer. Knocked down 97 out of 100 three-pointers on the move. An incredible.
Matt Potter finally getting a chance to play some playoff action. Spurs shooting 51% from the field, 55% from three-point range, 11 of 20 from downtown.
The paucity of close games is incredible. Every game is a blowout.
Did you just say paucity?
P-A-U-C-I-T-Y.
Definition again.
No, that's like my Nazareth education, man. Come on. I'm just saying, I can't believe how many games are not competitive into the fourth quarter. It's just...
Yeah, it's not so much the fact that the home team's winning. It's by the margin. Again, you look at Game 4 of this series, San Antonio won by 20. Game 5, New Orleans won by 22. Game 6, they've led by as many as 24. And it's all just home court.
I want to know why this guy doesn't use those words when we're at the restaurant enjoying lunch or dinner.
I said I was enjoying it. I did enjoy when you picked up the check today, though. I did enjoy that.
You got Kevin Willis arms when the check come around. You want no part of the check.
Ball knocked out of bounds. What a performance here from San Antonio. There you see Ginobili, Bowen, Duncan, and Parker. This, for those four, the 101st career playoff game together. They played almost 480 regular season games together. That's almost 6 years. Those guys they've been through it all. They've been through the wars, been through the big games. And even though this was an elimination game, they just come ready, not phased. And that's why they've won 4 titles in 9 years.
You talk about the experience. You talk about a situation where we've been there and done that. They don't panic. They understand the mission at hand, and they go out and execute and get the job done.
Now, R.C. Buford, who's helped put it together with Greg Popovich, one of the most underrated guys in the business in terms of what he does, doesn't like any of the spotlight. By the way, Duncan is the only one of them that has 4 titles. The other 3 won the 3 titles.
And it's R.C. Buford's birthday tomorrow. And I think Jeff Bauer of the Hornets also deserves a lot of praise for the GM work that he's done in constructing this Hornets roster.
Bauer knocks him down. Buford may be the most underrated successful executive. Bauer might be the most unknown successful executive. Another one just quietly does his job, loves the game, and knows what it takes to put together a good winning team. Nice move from the rookie Wright.
I'm going to tell you, though, San Antonio's worried. They know, hey, it hasn't been even close to good enough in New Orleans, and they're going to have to do something either different or better. And I think they're probably err on the side of doing things better and
Timeout as we wind down game 6. David Robinson, he had the Thunder 6 going in the first half. He's going to get an early start with the Spurs up big here.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA playoffs. Brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Dodge. Grab life.
Now, Joe Paterno spent a few hours in the hospital earlier today. The 81-year-old was suffering dehydration, but he's fine now. In fact, expected to make a scheduled trip to Texas tomorrow. Chauncey Billups also feeling good. He practiced today. The Pistons tell us he'll be ready to go in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against whomever and whenever it tips off. Details on all that coming up on SportsCenter immediately following our game.
Back here at the AT&T Center, reminder NBA playoffs on ABC Sunday, 3:30 Eastern. It's either Game 7 of Cleveland or Boston or Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Could be Boston-Detroit, could be Cleveland-Detroit. Either way, a big playoff game coming up Sunday on ABC. Coverage against 3 Eastern with GMC NBA Countdown. 95-76 in a game that was a 7-point game at halftime. Once again, the third quarter turned it around as the Spurs putting together such an impressive performance while facing elimination. Margot able to get a shot to go. Finally, here in this series, he had been 10-44 before that one. Ball kicks back out to Finley. So I said Cleveland and Detroit. That's not a possibility for Sunday. We will have one of those games for you Sunday. Maybe a Game 7, much like this series. But you'll have Game 7 Monday. Back in New Orleans, a key question will be the health of David West. You're just tuning in. West re-injured his back. This time a lot more serious than it appeared, at least, as Vaughn sneaks inside. West had to leave the game. But he'll have several days of treatment to try and get himself ready. It's been a great year for the All-Star. And a tough night tonight for him and his teammates. And the fans starting to celebrate. Reminder, visit NBA.com. You can jump right into the 2008 playoffs at NBAstore.com. Find the best selection of team jerseys, hats, T-shirts, and more. NBAstore.com. Another win for the home team. This will make now in the second round the record 20-1. The only road victory was Detroit beating Orlando.
Way to pile on the Van Gundy clan again. Yep.
We've already lauded what a great year your brother. Amazing what he did with that team. As Eli turns, shot won't go. And it's going to be another double-figure victory. All 6 games in this series won by the home team. All 6 by double figures. Well, the San Antonio Spurs keeping their title hopes alive as they force a Game 7. Do not, though, count out these Hornets. Spurs might have all the experience. But New Orleans has answered every challenge throughout the year, led by that man. And it'll be some game on Monday night.
I'm sure this is a young basketball team led by Chris Paul that's looking forward to a Game 7 in their own building.
Ryan Bowen. And the Spurs will dribble it out. Only fitting. These two teams in a battle, they finished with the same regular season record. And now they'll have a Game 7 coming up on Monday as the Spurs with a resounding victory on their home floor. Manu Ginobili was magnificent. All the big three playing well. Duncan not only 20 points, but 15 rebounds. And Duncan, another terrific game facing elimination. He's with Heather.
Indeed, Tim Duncan, another great performance when your backs are against the wall. How are you able to elevate your level of play when you're facing elimination?
You have to. And we did a good job defensively of really taking them out of their stuff. We shot the ball well, obviously. Got some shots to go down, and we got to the free throw line, which we didn't do last game.
And talking about defense in the locker room, what adjustments did you make to hold the Hornets to just 29 second-half points?
No adjustments. We did a lot of the same stuff, honestly. I just thought we brought the effort with it. And it happens sometimes. You get a lead going, and shots on it is easy for the opponents.
In this series, you've lost every game in New Orleans by an average of 19 points. How do you carry tonight's momentum into that Game 7 in New Orleans?
We got to. We know what we're facing. We know we're facing elimination, and we know we hadn't put a good game together there. So we're confident in our team. We're confident in our ability on the road, and we're going to take it in there, and it's do or die.
Congrats. Go enjoy the win. Back to you, Mike.
First half, Heather, it was a great offense. Second half, a determined defense. Chris Paul, superb himself individually, but a tough night as the defending champs showed why they're still defending their titles. They'll have another shot. Final score 99-80. This series tied at 3 games apiece. Recap of tonight's game. Join us shortly on ESPN News. Coming up next on ESPN Sports Center. For Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson.